interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back, bitches. So what does it all mean? I'm finally back and there's no more revisited media, even though I have enough, probably not as much as Prince, but I figure if I do 3 to 4 episodes and then go on hiatus where I can work on other things like I worked on the past 6 weeks, you can expect PIT, book tea, Star Trek tea, sports tea, pop culture tea, and reality TV tea. And in between, you could also expect republishing and chair twerking because I have bad knees and feet. Thank you for joining me for this episode of TNFro is Reading, or a bonus episode of TNFro's Bar if I get sponsors, but not until then. And enjoy this shake mix.
Lift every chair and swing till all them white folks scream. Thought y'all could run up on our black king.
That is affectionately Lift Every Chair and Swing, right in time for the first anniversary of FAAFO Day, August 5th, known colloquially as the Alabama Broil or the Alabama River Boat Broil. But as I said, it's officially the FAAFO Day. And there's a lot that's gone on since the last time that I actually recorded my podcast. Just so y'all know, I've been publishing the best of. I got an arsenal of shows that I can republish, and it's just like they're new, interesting, and just doing and did a lot, I think, for my avid listeners. And I've had time to come back for a lot of things. One of them is it just seems like now I have hope. And after not producing a podcast for most of the summer, it's like, what up, Fro? Joe Biden almost died. I honestly think he was a lot sicker than what they were letting on as far as COVID. He performed so poorly at the first debate. And if you could get shown up by that crooked wig chump looking like a stale Cheeto, it's really sad. But it was like a Weekend in Bernie's thing. But since then, he basically has stepped aside, and everybody has fallen in line behind Kamala Harris. Also, we got a racist Andy Ogles here in Tennessee. Of course, the white racist Republicans are going to come out, and he actually wants to get some, instead of just actually legislating, he's again playing in our face and wasting our time as far as trying to impeach her for what? The lack of work down in the border, where his former boss, Chump, really made the policy with Homeland Security as well as Border Patrol. All of that became completely unwind between the pandemic and the lack of oversight by dyslexic Trump. Very sad that y'all are blaming him and blaming her like y'all did Obama back in the day, but I digress. I also see that 47 is outside of the number of what we need in our country. I was actually really depressed or just down, and I was starting to get really anxious and starting to make plans to actually leave the country, because I thought if Joe Biden stayed in and got the nomination, if there was some act of God, because it was like the Republicans were gearing up for just to be dirty and to cheat, and I didn't not want to have a repeat of January 6th. We're still reeling from that. But what I have seen is that now that Joe has stepped aside, and the Supreme Court basically are trying to revert and subvert the balance of power, and single-handedly, this particular Stepford Supreme Court passed a law giving the president unlimited power. It's like the president is above power. Isn't that why we have three branches? Isn't that why? Were they setting up for some type of controversy? We already got somebody running for the highest office in the land who is a convicted felon, who is a rapist, who is got Eugene, whatever her name is. He was basically convicted in a civil court, owes a grip, 100 mil large to her because he assaulted her and then he defamed her. And it's really sad. He got all these charges and he's still free. Only in the white races, these white races United States, can this happen. But why? I was going to vote Democrat no matter what. Not voting was not an option to me, and I'm a never Trumper. There is no way I would ever vote for that fool. I think Waka Flocka, I think Amber Rose, they all have to have their head examined. Amber Rose, I think she's actually doing it for the check. Waka, I think he's rich enough where he says this off the pocket stuff because he doesn't have, I guess he's so rich he can say whatever the F he wants to, and he knows it's not going to affect him, and he doesn't have to do anything for the check. I firmly believe that at least the first part of whatever payment that they made to her and not to Candace Owen, I think it was big enough for her to actually have to pay some bills. I've just found out, I was today years old when I found out that she was actually married to Wiz Khalifa. I would have actually asked him to break her off some money versus basically making a complete ass out of myself at the Republican National Convention. But that's just me. Then again, I hardly want to go outside, so there you go. But in all of this drama that has happened in the last maybe 30, not even 30 days, I got several reasons why I think Vice President Harris should be 47. The GOP representative that I talked about, Andy Ogles, just represents everything about my state that I hate. Nashville, Memphis, Chattanooga, not so much Knoxville, is, you talk about MAGA land. I mean, within the city limits proper. All of those cities are actually firmly blue, but his district is the surrounding county outside of Nashville, and it is firmly red. It represents those ideas of the county at large, but not representative of the firmly blue young majority within the city limits. I have not been excited about anybody like this since Obama. And why is that? It's just refreshing to have someone that looks like me, that with the same idea and really wants to get to work. It seems to be reveling in the fact that she absolutely gets to read chump for filth. That's why they say, oh, we don't know. We're going to have to cancel all of our debates because the absolute lie and subterfuge and the stupid shit that he was saying, even during the debate, it looked like his cognitive faculties were on overdrive. He was just saying a bunch of nonsensical words, and just when they did pinpoint him on things, he was just out and out lying. That is not going to fly with former prosecutor Kamala Harris, who basically, while she was in the Senate, was getting all the girlies together. I'm going to need to see that. I will stay up to watch the debate if I could just see that maybe one good time, because she would shut it down, get them all the way together and shut it down. She also has that black lady's presence where she could side-eye you and, again, get you all the way together. And she don't even have to cuss, really don't even have to raise her voice. But she will read you, for real, for real. I'm going to need South Central Harris to come. I just going to need to see that. I think her campaign, there's a little bit of pettiness right within the law. I firmly love and respect former First Lady Michelle Obama, but that going high when they go low, I think she's really ready to go gutter with these fools. I'm going to need to see that. I'm going to need to see more of that because she's doing that now, and I'm all here for it. She's been in this game long enough, treated poorly probably at every turn, faced microaggressions with class, with people that try to act above their pay grade. I want her to basically be able to take a stand, basically formulate and express an opinion without stuttering. And granted, we know Joe Biden had a speech impediment, but he just looks so doddery now that no amount of threats of bonnet snatching from his mother could have actually made it okay for this octogenarian to continue to run the country for another 4 years. Nobody wanted that. I want her to see what her plans are, and there is no answer for the GOP, because what the GOP runs for is subterfuge and smoke and mirrors so they can do their dirt in the back rooms, subverting democracy and taking us back to a handmaiden type of reality. I don't need that. I don't need weird-ass J.D. Vance and his Stepford wife of Indian wood. And that's the other thing. They're saying that because Vice President Harris has always identified as black, but she also recognizes her Hindu or Indian American influence. J.D. Vance got a whole ass, isn't she from originally from Southeast Asia, from India? You better believe Asha. She basically, that's why she married the fake hillbilly. I read Hillbilly Elegy. That fool ain't no damn hillbilly. Also, I'm ready because GOP/racists are stupid. They will cut off their nose in spite of their face. They will cheat and basically make it hard for even their own voters just because they don't want this black lady to run this country. But she can only save us from the doom and off of this slippery slope that we're actually on now. The pendulum has basically swung all the way to the right. Y'all have been allowed to be fascist and racist, but now it's time to get to work. You overturn key acts of freedom. You've basically tried to dismantle the entire Voting Rights Act. Civil rights was actually in y'all crosshairs because y'all got rid of affirmative action. Again, this fourth right that the GOP was actually working on, I think they're going to still with the machinations in place. I honestly think they're going to still continue to work, but they're not going to be able to be out and proud and racist as overtly as they have been for the last 8 years. Even with the Biden administration in place, they were still doing some fuck shit in these back rooms. And if we get 4 years of Kamala and people actually continue to work together to basically right the pendulum right in the middle from the extreme conservative fascist right back to the middle, and we actually get some work done on healthcare reform, on voting rights, on getting the government out of our bedrooms and our uteruses, those of us that still have them, then I think we're going to enter in a new renaissance. I'm looking forward to, for the first time, the next 4 years. I'm cautiously hopeful because, as I said, the GOP and these Republican MAGA maggots, they don't mind cheating. They don't mind staging shit. And the Kraken was let loose. But I'm hopeful that more level heads will rule and we can get the work done that absolutely needs to be done in this country without garbage and the rhetoric that we've had to been subjected to for the past 8 years. I'm absolutely hopeful. My apologies to Henry Mancini, but a riff on the Pink Panther theme is in alignment with a podcast segment dedicated to a fictional PI and all about true crime, or fictional crime in this case. Don't you think? I want to be clear. I have a corporate job and completely grateful to have this job, because I don't know of many people that are allowed to follow their passions in any capacity, in any job, to be frankly honest. I'm grateful that not only do I have a job, but I can think of retirement within a certain amount of time. I can look up what FIRE means, financially independent, retire early, and be able to consider a life where I could be retired by the time I'm 58 years old. That's not a bad thing. I told my sister that I don't necessarily love or even highly like my job I just know that I get paid a grip to do what I do, but I also know that how much I really need to earn so I can retire early. I have to take a really good look at what my expenses are. One, I have to get my house in order, making sure it's not going to slide down Forest Avenue and just roll back into the river. But that's neither here nor there. I don't really go outside, but I like outside to a certain extent. Closing off my back porch and enclosing my pool are two things, and putting up solar panels are two things, multiple things that I know are going to add to my own peace of mind and privacy, but also add to the value of my home. And I can't be giving up all my cash to EPB or to the gas folk when I want to retire in 5 years. I mean, come on. What I do in my job is and also when I was practicing medicine, we process vast amounts of information and we make a decision based on that information. What am I being asked? Is this person sick? Will we pay for this? They meet criteria for X, Y, and Z so we can pay for them to have X, Y, and Z procedure? I'm not open to medical practice anymore. I don't want to work the night shift at somebody's hospital. I don't want to be in the grind of having to figure out RVUs, staff demands, etc. in a classic medical practice. That's not what I want to do at this time. The rah-rah days of electronic medical record implementations are over. Now we're dealing with cost overrun and technology failures. There's so many companies that have spent billions to implement one format, and now everybody's switching over to another. My superpower personally is access to information and being able to use that information in effective ways. It's also a different way to help other people. And you get paid to do what you actually can become good at. I really would like to get paid for something that I actually like doing. Not because it's easy, not because it just pays a grip. Those things are nice, but how about if those things are also true and I truly like what I did? There's going to be certain decisions that I know that are going to have to be made that I'm probably not going to like, but it's going to be different because I get to steer the boat. I get to pick the team. I get to fire the team if you do some fuck shit. So this is me combating the fuck shit, but getting paid to get retired early. That's what my whole life is. And that's why I like being a private investigator. You know, PIs basically deal in information. They get the facts. You get to ask, is he cheating? Is this person, in this case, because I want to be a financial fraud expert or examiner. So who stole what and how much would you recover if you got this person, get them all the way together? Or the flip side is they ain't steal jack and nobody owes you any money. I spent the majority of the last 2 months studying for the private investigator license because in Tennessee, you actually have to take and pass an exam, and I did pass. Whoop, whoop. Also, I want to work on being able to find the assets in divorce cases. I'm going to have to learn forensic accounting. Skip tracing is another avenue that I could expertly work on. Asset recovery. I'm probably going to end up buying a couple of tow trucks and basically towing cars because people get these expensive cars, but they can't hit that note. Yeah, that's what is kind of cool. Process serving, that's a question mark because I don't know if I want to roll up on somebody and say, here, you've been served, like they rolled up on Russell Simmons in Bali, but that's actually hysterical to me. Having fingerprinting, I actually, when I got my concealed weapons permit, I had to get it fingerprinted at Identigo, and this group actually, it's like a franchise, and I'm looking into possibly having that as one of the services that I can offer in this particular practice. And also, I did take my oath as a notary at the end of July. You're welcome, Tennessee. I like having nothing but the facts. And also, this private investigation game lends itself to stories. I'm working on a story now about I work for, or I actually had a some work done on my property in the like last fall, and I came up with a means that I found it weird, or it was just interesting to me that I had gotten the father and the son mixed up. But I think what's going to aid me in being able to continue my studies as I become a fraud examiner is using my everyday life and then being able to tell the story, because that's when you get information. Me actually telling the story about this father-son contractors and how he approached me because the son actually did the work on my house. The father came around as, towards the end of the project, and he basically, as I engaged who I thought was the father's company, I basically am going to tell the story how he came to engage me because there was some suspect financial malfeasance going on, and I was actually I hired his company as a client to do A1 work on my house, but then he is going to actually contact me to engage me to figure out who's actually stealing the money from his company. Is it going to be his ex-Playboy Bunny trophy wife? Is it his brother? Is it the son? Is it the ex-wife? I actually have it so where I'm putting it together where the family for the most part lives in the same Italianate mansion that you can see from Lookout Mountain. You can see Sugar's, the barbecue joint, from one end and their house on the other. That's what I'm actually working for, because I'm finding as what helps me study and get some of these concepts down, especially because I'm actually reading Data Sleuths, which is a process how to work financial fraud cases. Me making up these stories are going to be more meaningful, not only for myself, but also for the listening audience. This is just the intro to what I was working on for this past couple of months, and also set up for the financial fraud, the construction fraud story or contracting story that I'm going to be telling over the next couple of episodes. And y'all just drop me a line at TNFroWasReading@gmail.com, or leave me a comment in the show notes, after the show notes, or as well as on my Dale's Angels Inc. blog. The Shady Bunch, the Shady Bunch. I hope turning up for checks to pay for fake lifestyles were to be a part of the Shady Bunch. I had to pause and record this segment before it got any longer, because it is really sad that I'm yelling at the TV for a TV show that has been off the air for 2 years. What am I speaking of? I'm speaking of Bravo's first, I think it was, this always on Bravo, or was it on E? It was on one executive producer Ryan Seacrest, Shaws of Sunset. I remember seeing Fu Manchu looking Reza Farrakhan on something years ago and never being quite interested in that show. But I've seen other spin-offs about arranged marriages or something on Netflix, which are recent iterations of this show since it was canceled. And yes, I don't know if it was canceled or it was just put on pause. But Shaw's of Sunset ran for 9 seasons, and I truly believe it ran for 3 seasons too long. Because this is what the producers and showrunners and executives of Bravo said when they did announce that it was not coming back for a 10th season, that it had just run its course. I venture to say, after rewatching this show, maybe binge watching it, no matter, 4 or 5 times now, it probably should have ended after the season 6 reunion. Why? I'll get to that a little bit later on, but I wanted to basically just speak on a couple of things that I realized about just Persian culture. And this is my personally my feelings, what I have seen online. There have been like Reality T and some other not so reputable writing about this show. We get intrigue, we get sometimes their lives off camera is more interesting than what they actually wanted to present on the show. I speak specifically to Mike Shoehead, because his proposal and then his marriage, divorce, all played out on the show when he was in a true hot and heavy relationship with multiple women, including one that wrote a whole book about that shit. How he was with her before the proposal and after the day he proposed, jumped out of a plane and proposed to Jessica Burrito. But I'll get to all of that. And then his second relationship with, what's that girl's name? Ben somebody. Who he ended up attacking on camera and then got charged diversion program, and then she sued him again for domestic battery. I can't even make this shit up because that was his life off camera, because he caught those charges when they were on hiatus. But that's just me. They said that was the reason why they let the show. That was one of the reasons why the show didn't come back. No, they had already made plans for that show not to come back. They said it was too expensive, blah, blah, blah. But the direction of the production company allowed them to fuck up their bag, because I would have ventured, if they had not allowed the two most toxic people to run one of the only voices of reason off of this show, and they had really truly capitalized on some of the great trips that this place would have been, none of them would have fucked up their bag. They would have been able to pay for it. The show would have paid for itself if they had just went and found some type of balance between the ratchet and the respectable. And this is why I think this. First, this was the exposure, true exposure of Western culture to some Middle Eastern really positiveness. And you don't get it twisted. You could actually support Persianity without having to support the current Islamic regime. Don't get that twisted. This was how Israeli Jews, Persian Jews, and just Persian Muslims, how this one culture, the intersection of this one culture, the beauty of it. We saw it when they went to Turkey, and just in the show itself, because they and Reza, the most sociopathic, one of the most sociopathic of them all, basically commented, Jews and Muslims, Christians, any other culture, it is not acceptable for them to mix together, even within the whole Persian culture. The way he was raised, he was hated for most of his life by his Jewish Persian grandmother, and how he did not reconcile with her until later in life. But his focus and how he dealt with both his Muslim and his Jewish half, and his outlook and how he dealt with his own self-hatred, and why he hooked up with some bargain basement white dude. But that's neither here nor there, and I'll take a deep dive into that in a separate episode. We got a richness of the Persian culture that goes back 2,000, 3,000 years BC, before even Muhammad made his appearance into this world, before even Jesus was even in this world, in his current culture that Christians actually can celebrate. He and maybe Buddha and maybe some of them Hindu mugs, that is what we are on when we talk about the true Persian culture, but I digress. How the crown jewels actually support the current currency of the Iranian regime. But don't get it twisted. The Shahs of Iran were corrupt and were dumb, and they were all named Reza. Just so y'all know. Who knew one of the highest populations of Persians were all segregated into Beverly Hills. And then you enter these Shah misfits. With almost all of them, the OGs of this show, with the exception of Gigi, who was born in LA, MJ, Reza, Asa, and even Mike, they were all born in Iran. Asa and Reza, their families had to flee and get the fuck out. Reza's family, I think, immediately came to the United States. And so did MJ's. Asa's family, because her father was one of, I don't know if he was an admiral or a captain in the Iranian or the Persian Navy, but they originally went to Germany and before she came to the United States, Beverly Hills at 15. Gigi has been a Persian princess. Her father has a very successful architectural firm that he built up in LA. So she's always lived that LA life and had longer to become self-hating as a brown girl, but rich in the United States. The other people, Destiny, Swervin' Servin, Fire Marshal Bill, what's his name? I can't even remember that. Nima. And his calorie deficient sister, R. Kelly's concubine. I don't care anything about them. Why? Because out of all of those people, none of them have a voice of reason. And that is why there was nobody left after season 6, and Asa only came back for that one episode. That was like a reflection of positivity. All of those people had negative, either they were trying to cover up shit or they presented all of the negativity without any repercussions. I don't want to also, and I also could care less about the bottom of the barrel white folk men. Adam, who basically allows Reza to tell him what to do, make all these decisions. I don't think because he wants to be on this show, it's just that he's happy to have someone he's just happy to be with someone. And he could be in a domestic violence sitch, but he tolerates it because he says, well, maybe it's not so bad. And maybe because he does nice things for me and he gives me Cartier. Well, we get to eat beluga caviar out of a vending machine, so it's not that bad. Okay. And oh, stinking feet, I can smell his ass through the screen almost. Tommy fight? Nah, I have no comment. All I think when I think and look at when Tommy Fight and Mercedes are on screen together is toe jam, pits, and ass crack. That's what it smells like. It's like a foam, like what's that pig pen from the Charlie Brown? That's what I see a fog when I see them on the screen together. And what makes me angry is how much all of them have fucked up their bag and how dark MJ's foundation is and how nobody and all the drag queens did not mix or blend in their foundation and how it's all too dark. I'm the anti keeping it real because it went to such a negative way or just a negative focus in the efforts of keeping it real and nobody telling either Gigi or MJ, you don't want to invite this level of karma on a pregnant lady. Yes, Asa was doing the most. Oh, my back hurts, my feet hurt. Why aren't y'all just paying more attention to me and coddling me because I have this miracle? Because you weren't being all that forthcoming. Why would they? You are in a group of bona fide selfish, sociopathic narcissists. What in anything that they've done that you could either trust Reza or anybody else within this friend group? None of this. And it became so not true Persian and negative and manufactured that the negativity that this show was allowed to basically stew in for 3 more seasons made me think that it was on fumes and y'all had no intention of ever bringing this shit back. And I also don't want to see a spinoff of 3 of the OGs if there's not going to be somebody that is going to hold anybody accountable for their fuckery. Asa's story arc, Persian pop priestess, her woo-woo antics, I was with her for a minute. And then when she got into this, oh, Jermaine, I'm only going to present the positive. Jermaine is too private. I don't want to get any poisons for vaccines. Girl, shut up and go sit down somewhere because you dumb as hell. Also, maybe I think she truly did use in vitro. And the child that she carried was a product of in vitro insemination instead of true natural. However, her lifestyle outlook and what she put into her body was less toxic than MJ or Gigi. That maybe, but she's also 40. And why are you going to still get pregnant but you got 7 viable embryos? Girl, bye. But she still was a little bit more spiritually sound and believable than those other woo-woo bitches. I'm just saying. Also, I'm also annoyed about the lack of production's ability to be able to allow these people to dig deeper into some of the places that they went to from when they were in Thailand and the most holiest Buddhist site there, where they could have had some type of balance when Reza or even Mike, because that was when Mike and Jessica was breaking up. Reza called off his wedding, and Asa was probably trying to get pregnant or could have been pregnant. I think that would have been a great place where they could have visited there and could have gone. Because they did do a guided meditation while they were in Thailand. Why couldn't they have gone there and showed that opulence? Why did they lead? They let us. They went to Turkey. visited the Muslim mosque, and then had Gigi and her simple ass talk in the ignorance of the significance of the Western Wall. The Western Wall existed before even that mosque and that temple that she so stupidly spoke about was even erected. The Western Wall is one of the holiest places on this planet. It only exists because it is what is left of the first and the second temple that Solomon built. This is BC and even BM, before Muhammad. And it was sacked. When the second temple was sacked by the Romans, only parts of that particular mount was actually still in existence. It doesn't exist to block out the Muslims. The Muslims built their temple and their shrine on the other side of that wall. This is the only thing that exists of that second temple. Two of the holiest sites, two very holy sites. First the mosque, then that wall. And for you want to tear it down because of your own ignorance was so stupid. And then when Reza in his ignorance said something about F Iran, yes, he should have said F the regime, and I get that. But her wanting to tear down that wall only exposed her own ignorance. And she basically, because of her own ignorance, cut herself off from a connection of truly transcendent connection. Even MJ and Destiny and their vapid ass basically got it. She was cut off, but she wasn't there yet. Mike said something so profound. The wall will be there if Sherman and they want to come back once they get why it is so important. Knowing the history of why it was so important, they should have partaken in it. They wanted everybody to go to the mosque, which was just as segregated in Turkey, but they didn't want them to, that they couldn't understand and know the significance of that wall, the remnants of one of the oldest and holiest shrines in the world. And also not knowing the significance of also being witness and being able to walk in the same places that Jesus walked, and where was he entombed? Really? Really? It was all lost on some of the most sociopathic, narcissistic, and selfish people on the planet. Not taking advantage of being spiritually balanced and not thinking that the public would want to see that. Because I think if we hadn't seen more of that, we wouldn't have been caught up into the stupidity of why MJ overreacted to Asa's pregnancy and how she was pregnant. All they could have basically said, okay, we know she BSing, but I'm not going to hold it against her. Just because she only wants y'all to present, fine. But don't wish or bring that type of karma and negativity on yourself because you want her to be accountable for it, because you can't see beyond your own selfishness. That's where they lost me. And that's why I don't think it should have come back without them getting right, because it would have made me more sympathetic, and it would have made them more sympathetic to MJ struggles with pregnancy and then her having to get an emergency hysterectomy, as well as the struggles and the truth telling behind Gigi's basically admitting to having multiple abortions, then having, when she did get in vitro, having a very rare complication of it implanting and having a tubal pregnancy, because in today's world, her even getting an abortion would be a hassle, and her being able to survive a ruptured tubal pregnancy would have been an issue. That would have made more sense. And I don't think them also saying, because we can't dissect and get all into the drama, baby mama drama of Asa, would it have been that compelling? Because they probably get along because they don't have to worry about y'all trying to interfere in their relationship. But your inability to allow her to basically present her bullshit, and y'all seeing the happy results of it and not being able to capitalize on that, I not only blame these vapid individuals, the talent, as well as the production company, because it fucked up all of y'all's bag. It was the Jerusalem trip or Israeli trip was revealing for several reasons. And Asa's pregnancy, because I don't think Reza, and what I've seen in later seasons, Reza never had any intention of having children. He wanted to just build an empire, stack his money, buy jewelry, get cars, be glamorous and travel. Never wanted the intention of having a true nuclear family. That was never his intention. And having Asa in the picture, basically, and that would have been his bottom basement punk ass husband support for having that type of traditional family. That it was good that MJ basically hated her so much because she couldn't see her nose in spite of her face. That's why he was easily able to basically not just turn against Asa, but not support her, because her not being in the picture and not supporting her played to what he didn't want in his own selfish life. Because he knew that once Asa was not in the picture, he knew that Adam was not going to continue to support her and be around her if Reza did not want or didn't want to be around her. He already knew that because he did not want to have kids. He wanted to have a glamorous life, sans children. And MJ's jealousy was stupid, because why couldn't she have seen, okay, we understand that this child is not exposed in every little detail, but is that necessary? And again, do I want to invite that level of karma into my life? No. But can I truly listen to her and get her experience and know where I could have done differently? Yes. Gigi, same thing. Because Karma is a Persian biatch. And all of them, once they kicked, although, she wasn't always so revealing about her own life, what she could have been able to give them support on was unconditional support after the fact, and guided them through her own. If she trusted them a little bit more after the child was actually born and it was safe and had gotten out of all of the how to have a vegan kid and how she navigated those things, even through the pandemic, I honestly think if they could have struck some type of balance, all of them could have returned if they had somebody that truly could have used one of their degrees, been the voice of reason to help them navigate through their fertility issues, birth, raising a child, and a mixed children at that, in this our racist United States. And are also a truly closed-minded and racist Persian culture. I would have liked to see that, but the cast, sans Asa or anybody else with some type that is engaging and truly a voice of reason, nah, I can't see the Shaws continuing. But I do see me still commenting and yelling at the TV over the current, what I do have at my disposal. And I could truly say, I don't know these people. I only know what they showed us, the heavily edited version on this show, and what is in social media, which I know also is edited. And I'm only commenting on where the cast as well as the production company went wrong. And I can't fly or flow with anybody that's going to mess up their bag, because this show, I believe, had more stories to tell. And a second trip back to Israel after the Gaza invasion, or them being in Turkey and seeing this, oh wow, that would have been dope. And how being able to take some of Asa's peacekeeping woo-woo-ness and finding that balance, that would have been dope. Because I would have seen how all of them responded. It would have been very interesting to see how the production company probably would have to be different, but also seeing their true and unedited response to Israel invading Gaza. That would have been dope. But no, this cast with that production company and not with Asa or some other voice of reason and sanity, I needed to, I don't need to see any of that. And with that, I think it would have run its course with this cast and no voice of reason. But there were still other Persian brown people stories left to tell if they had just made some modifications, because everybody could have cashed in. And not just the mess, because I would have been there for the ratchet mess as also the woo-woo-ness. From ratchetness to woo-woo-ness. Woo, that's funny. So that's how we're going to end this episode. And I'm going to end it with a positive word. I used to scoff at people making this statement, because of its simplicity, or maybe because it sounded more like an admonishment that I was being everything but kind. But then when I started investigating it for myself, that's when I realized that I was confusing politeness with kindness. Politeness is a fake, superficial manner in which there's no required investment, no self-reflection. But being kind is an adjective. It is an action. If you're kind to yourself first, it's like exercise memory. You will continue and be kind to others. Let that sit with you for a while. I'm going to try to be kind to myself. I'll be kind to others. It's very simple, and you got to repeat it. Lean into the spirit of a new year by counting your blessings, giving to others, and spreading happiness. I know I will. And this episode, or this podcast, is my means to spread joy and happiness and light and enlightenment. There's so much going on with aggression and just meanness. But if I can leave you with one small positive thought, start your day with that can change everything for you. And just basically change your day. Don't forget to check out Dale's Angels Inc. for the notes on this podcast, as well as other works by CQM and other contributors that are in work or in being edited right now. Also, check out my Instagram feed, TNFro is Reading. You can check me out on Facebook, TNFro is Reading Book Club, as well as my YouTube channel, TNFro is Reading and Eating. And what I'm just chatting and streaming at TV Food Wine Girl on Twitter. Navigate to Writer's Block Coffee or shipabagadicts.com. Use my promo code TNFro Coffee or TNFro Got Jokes, respectively, to get a percentage off of your order. Don't forget to drop me a line at TNFroWasReading@gmail.com. All non-trolling messages may be actually read online, and you can do the same if you are in Podbean or Anchor or wherever you listen to the podcast. And again, shedding light and positivity. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed creating it. Until next time, bye.